Okay, next round coming up. Poker's Wizard. There's also a grinder, I think. Kodotha Boros. So we might be playing the mirror. Hand's pretty okay. Reaping the Graves is amazing in the mirror. I don't currently have any of the flying bouncy creatures, which are the more important things to be drawing. Also, you really want as many Palace Sentinels as you can get in the mirror to stay ahead of the Monarch race. Are the primary main deck differences between this deck and the 10? I have 2 Faithless Lootings, but other than that, yes. Why did I make the changes? I felt like, well, Zen's Enlistment... Didn't I have a Reaping the Graves in my 10-0 list? Maybe it was only in the sideboard. Well, Zen's Enlistment and Reaping the Graves together are there to make sure that you don't deck out against the controlling decks. They mostly improve the blue-black matchup, though I still think the blue-black matchup is fine. They also do a good job of winning the mirror. If you have infinite token generation and card advantage out of Reaping the Graves, you're advantaged in the mirror. Better Screech, you lose out on some percentage against Blue-Red Delver. Clearly ghosting, I guess so. Do I need to hide my hand now? I hate when that happens. Hate when that happens. Yeah, I don't know, I'll play for a while. I don't want to. Yeah. Like, it also ruins, like, the YouTube recording and all that, but... I guess they switched to Tribe, which would make sense if they're, like, a grinder willing to play everything. Okay, I don't want to hide my hand and ruin the stream. Feels bad, man. I'll talk about the 10-0 list a little bit more, maybe in between rounds. Just remind me to keep talking about it, but I want to focus on the match now, sorry. Yeah, I agree. Both the ghosting and the accusations are not good for Magic. Probably just crack the clue rather than play another Inspector. In the Tribe matchup, it's actually much more important to not get ghosted than in the mirror. The Boros mirror, like the only points where you really need your opponent's hand information in the Boros mirror is when you decide whether you want to become the Monarch or not, if there's like risk attached to it, because your opponent might be killing all your creatures and stealing it from you. In Tribe, there's so much like stack-based interaction and like knowing when to go for it and all that. They do have Cataxian Probe to check your hand, but there it would be... I hope I don't get punished for not playing around Daze, but I did play around Spellstutter alone. Don't daze me, bro. Oh my fucking god. Yeah, now I'm in trouble. I mean, the Threadman Spectre getting countered is not that big of a deal. They could have still, if I play around Daze on the first one, they could still do the exact same sequence on my second Threadman Spectre, but they get to keep the Spellstutter on the board, and then that likely gets a Ninja hit in, though I guess my opponent is pretty far behind on tempo. If they Ninja now, tap out for it, they get a card draw, but then I have double Threadman Spectre to contest their Ninja, so it might not be too awful for me in the long run. But yeah, the Daze was pretty devastating. Okay, that's pretty perfect. I think I'm only attacking with one of these, because it looks to be mono blue Delver. I mean, Yeah, they didn't play any snow lands, so it's unlikely to be blue-red. And in that case, their best answer to my core Skyfish here is to Vapor Snack or Snap it. And in that case, I don't have profitable blocks for the Ninja. But if I keep both double block with 2 Thraben Inspectors and core Skyfish are single blocking back on defense, then it becomes difficult for them to get a Ninja attack. And they would have to have double Snap or Snap and Vapor Snack to get through. And bouncing this still generates me some value. So now we know they have Spell Starter available once again, but I'm kinda ahead on the board by a little bit. Okay, they're willing to ponder to make their land drop, I guess. No, it's their turn 4, they have made all the land drops. So they're just willing to ponder and not keep open Spell Starter. It's interesting. Yeah, they just wanted to build the board with Double Delver, and then if they are Double Delvering anyways, then why not go ahead and ponder as well. This would be the turn to resolve Faithless Looting through the Spell Starter, but I don't really have things that I'm willing to discard. I guess if their interaction is all bounce spell based, then it's less likely for my Reaping the Graves to be good. The problem is I don't have another red source. If I had a second red source, I would be very willing to Faithless Looting, look for a burn spell for these, look for my Electricity, and that would be great. Yeah, I think I'll just run out the Vial and look if I can find a Lightning Bolt or Galvanic Blast here to deal with the Delvers while my opponent's tapped out. And then if I don't, I might still be priced into Faithless Looting. Okay, that's very decent. Unless they daze me again. They revealed Snap, so I guess they can snap the Skyfisher now and get an attack through. Yeah, it's pretty awkward that I'm so low on resources here. I mean, I technically have like the same amount of cards in... I do have the same amount of cards in hand right now. I technically have some card advantage over my opponent because I still have these clues lying around, but the inspectors, when you don't have the time to crack clues, are kind of a mulligan. And only once I start stabilizing the board and get 2 casualties in does my position start to improve. Okay, I think I'm pretty much priced into the double block. They can Vapor Snack or Mutagenic Growth or something to make this reasonably profitable. Yeah, sure. But I'm still like not trading that badly in terms of card advantage. Counter spell does blow me out pretty hard though. Okay, I think I'll cycle this actually. I mean, it's weird that I want to make my land drops, but I do want red sources. God damn it. I have to hope they don't have counter spell here, because I know they have spell stutter in hand, but this dodges spell stutter still. Probably even bouncing a land and then replaying it so that I can Alchemist while they're ninja. Seems alright. Because I'm missing my land drop otherwise, so I'm not really losing out on any tempo. I'm losing out on a little bit of card advantage, but I have more clue on the board than I can afford to crack in the near future, so. And this is very wasteful if my opponent just has no bounce spell, but it's a lot better than letting them attack if they do. Yeah, willing to make this trade unless they bounce now. Still puts me in an awkward position against the ninja in the long run, because I also can't cast any 1-mana removal spells on it when I know my opponent has. Now I want my cycling land back. I know my opponent has spells there, I was gonna say. Zen's Enlistment could contest the ninja, but the days was brutal for sure. Just made everything spiral out of control. I couldn't kill their spell stutter. They have the spell stutter back in their hand now. They got the ninja hit in. Like, without days, the game would already be over in my favor, I think. And with it, I'm struggling immensely here. Not having the second red source, also a little annoying, though currently I don't really have extra red spells in my hand either. So I'm not sure how much that counts. Yeah, Augur, Ogash, both of which kind of crushed me. Yeah, it feels bad. And now this not being a better Screech is actually a huge liability in this matchup as well. Not really sure how I'm getting out of this. I guess it would start with Core Skyfisher. Because that's some... No, I guess Core Skyfisher no longer really gets around their ferry either. And I think I'm just screwed, falling too far behind on the board, and I no longer have much card advantage. Yeah. Needed them to not have another Iron Shield, then I can bounce this and Faithless Looting off of it. Yeah, that feels bad, man. Yeah, there's nothing in my deck that can come back from here. Even if I get hit for like 7 here, go to 6, and then I draw Electricity, even in those spots I cannot beat these 2 cards anymore. Very unfortunate. Okay, now we get to bring in our good cards though. Matchup does get a lot better after sideboarding. And I throw out this garbage. Palace Sentinel is actually much worse in this matchup than against Blue-Red Delver, so I think I'm more confident in throwing all of them out. I can see myself cutting 2 of these or 2 of the Faithless Lootings. Yeah, probably just Faithless Lootings because I can keep these around to contest Ninja. Also, depending on the list, Core Sanctifiers can be alright because they contest my opponent's Bar Golem. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try this setup. Cutting the Bodruka block is actually not unreasonable, but these matchups against mono blue are actually a lot more tempo oriented than the blue red, so making all of your land drops so you're less vulnerable to your opponent's bone spells is important, so you can recast multiple spells in a turn. And also, even though this is not particularly useful as a black source, it does make it so you have more keepable hands with bounce lands. Like Bodruka block plus bounce land hand is a lot better than like only bounce land for obvious reasons. So I think I'm hesitant to cut down on the land here in this matchup when my opponent's trying to tempo me out. Also, it just pays for days. But yeah, I think it was alright for me to go for it there into the days, but it was completely backbreaking that my opponent had Spellstutter and days. Both Counterspell would have been alright for me, and Spellstutter with no days backup would have also been alright. But those 2 together made it so that I lost control of the board pretty early on, and I drew a below average number of Lightning Bolt Galvanic Blast, so I didn't really manage to catch up on the board ever. I was behind on mana. Sand is pretty flooded and vulnerable, but I think Thraben Inspector into Skyfisher is just so clearly one of my best draws that I have to try it. And then the card advantage generated by the clue should draw me into some more answers. Probably alright with getting dazed here, though I would prefer for that not to be the case. But yeah, now I have a blocker that outclasses all of my opponent's creatures, so they have to deal with this with the bounce spell, or I guess mutagenic growth. So you're saying you have a mutagenic growth. If I block, I make my opponent spend that mutagenic growth, and I lose my blocker. If I don't block, I allow my opponent to ninja me. That's the huge downside. If I wait a turn, I can potentially like find a burn spell so that their mutagenic growth doesn't get me anymore. Man, this is rough. Yeah, I think I have to block. I don't like my spot here, which is weird. I mean, yeah. Letting them ninja also. Now I would have loved to have let them ninja in hindsight. Because if they tap, like, if I don't block, they ninja me. Now having double Thraben Inspector to contest it on the ground would have been amazing to me, because then I can offer up that double block, their mutagenic growth, to get through the double block, and I'm fine with that. Now I'm facing down Spell Stutter again, and it's pretty terrible for me. Like, without Thraben Inspector in my hand, the second one, I was uncomfortable letting my opponent ninja, and now in hindsight, by drawing this, I regret my decision, basically. I think I don't want to run into my opponent's counter magic right away. Okay, I'll just pass with Clue open, and what looks to my opponent like Electric Tree, Galvanic Blast mana, though, I mean, if they're actually ghosting, that doesn't matter. But cracking the Clue still seems better than casting these Inspectors. And then if they do ninja me off of the Fairy Miscreant, I can follow up with double Inspector and have a reasonable double block on the board. So that the ninja gets one hit in, but I stabilize the board from there. It seems slightly more beneficial to me than running one of my two Thraben Inspectors into a spell stutter here. But yeah, mutagenic growth was brutal there. Yeah, that's also pretty good. I can get to Metacraft really easily off of these Inspectors. So Galvanic Blast would be amazing for me here. Yes. Yes. I think I'll play around Days and keep open Pyroblast for a potential Stormbound cast follow-up, so I will once again not develop my bounce land. Might even be better to not run this out, so that I have Pyroblast back up against Days. And I can crack the Clue. Yeah, probably cracking the Clue is just better than getting the Thraben Inspector onto the board. Even though that makes my second Thraben Inspector a little bit more vulnerable to Spell Stutter in the long run. Seems pretty okay for me. No ninja, okay. That is annoying. Man, that is a lot of Spire Golems. Okay. Well, I guess I keep drawing well, though. That's the good news. But these Spiral Golems are annoying. Yeah, if they have 4 Spiral Golems in the deck, I might want some Core Sanctifiers. Gosh. So they have 2 cards in hand. I mean, 2 non-island cards in hand. If I try to fight over this. Yeah, I think I'm not going to. It's so difficult to fight against the Gush because they always have the mana floating, which they can use for like Spell Stutter and Counterspell really comfortably. And now, okay, I guess no Stormborn Geist, because I would have committed Stormborn Geist to the board with the floating mana as well. Now my Pyroblast can act as a Dispel. If I draw like a Core Skyfisher or something, my opponent counters, I counter back. Feels better than running it into my opponent's floating Gush mana. If they have Dispel or Hydroblast, they can Spell Stutter this successfully. Because then I Pyroblast Dispel Stutter, they counter back. That is pretty good. Though not for this turn. I don't think I want to run that into Counterspell when I have Pyroblast backup available to me in the future. I was pretty close between running this out or not running it out, because my opponent has shown me that they don't have a Stormborn Geist in their hand, otherwise they would have cast it off of the Gush. But keeping the mana open makes it difficult for them to ninja me. I think they are not ghosting me, or their hand is really weird, because the lines of play that they took, they could have abused my lack of defenses on multiple turns when they know that my only answer is like Pyroblast. But maybe their draw is also weak and they couldn't ninja. For example, last turn it was possible for my opponent to just ninja plus Spell Stutter me. And I didn't really have a lot of counterplay to that, with only 1 Pyroblast available to me. But yeah, either they didn't have those cards, or they're just not ghosting me. I don't have a lot of suspicion about it at the moment. They just played like a generally good game. It's still possible that they are. Okay, that's amazing. Amazing. Because I kind of have Stormborn Geists covered, now I have Spellstutter Sprites covered. This can whittle down the Spiral Golem a little bit, so it stops hitting me every turn. Though whittling down Spiral Golems with arrows is pretty risky, because then you leave them with an O2, and they can just ninja back the O2 to their hand and then recast it. So that is not your preferred answer. I would want to exile this with a Journey to Nowhere, or try to Galvanic Blast it once again or something. Or even better, find a Core Skyfisher to just keep blocking it every turn. Those would be my preferred answers. Ninja. Gosh, wow. That is a weird Gush timing. But sure, it resolves. Now ninja. I think I'm just letting them hit me. I could try and Pyroblast it, but the ninja on the board doesn't really matter. Yeah. And then I can like arrows down the ninja to 1/1 and my Thraben Spectres outclass it. I think that's better than trying to Pyroblast it down, and like this turn, if I Pyroblast, my opponent could Spell Stutter because my arrows are tapped, and then I would have to Pyroblast this bastard as well. And I'm throwing 2 of my greatest cards away for some of my opponent's worst cards. Because the ninja on the board doesn't matter, their spell stutter no longer really matters when I have arrows active, so yeah, I don't want to throw my premium answers away for... And I'm like, I would have denied my opponent a draw, but also they're discarding to hand size here, so it's not the end of the world to let them draw. It's more difficult for them to get the Spire Golem back onto the board now as well. Okay, this I can cast through Spell Stutter, because I can shoot down the Miscreant. My Glinthawk currently can't resolve through Spell Stutter. So I guess Lightning Bolt is enough of a reason. Yeah, I guess so. I would have just not cast the Gush, and then if I try to fight against the Ninja, they can still Gush, and otherwise they go Spire Golem for 1 mana, then Gush in their post-combat main phase. I thought it was too early, actually, for them to Gush there. That reason, it felt a little bit weird. Okay, I think I'm willing to just pass here instead of running my Glinthawk into Spell Stutter. Once again, I don't want to commit real resources to it when I have serrated arrows out. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they still end up with 7 cards in their hand, and most of their cards are now spells. But if I ever resolve like Serrated Arrows Glinthawk and get the Serrated Arrows back to my hand, the game still pretty much ends. Yeah, I'll take it. If they ninja me, I think they're tapping down too many resources as well. Maybe. Yeah, I guess I'll Lightning Bolt this one. The Lightning Bolt is a great answer to the Spire Golem, but it still feels alright here. If I get Dispel or Hydroblast out of their hand, that also feels good. Because now they're tapped down too low and I get to freely arrows. Okay. Yeah, I think I'll double arrows now and then Glinthawk the arrows and everything is under control. They get the 1 card out of this, but I get to hold on to my Pyroblast. Sure. Like, so few of their cards in the deck matter. Like, Stormborn Geists and Spire Golems are like the only threats that they have left that are relevant. So, shoot this down. Glinthawk. Could have -1/-1 the other ninja to spread the love, basically. But yeah, this still feels amazing. Yeah, it's alright to keep these back, I think. Once again, I don't want to be spending real resources on the ninja. Sure. Spire Golem is a little bit annoying, but I get to like Lightning Bolt plus Serrated Arrows it down. Yeah. Yep. I guess Spire Golem, like bolting down the Spire Golem is a little bit awkward because I open myself up to Spell Stutter again. Okay, let's target this first so I always have the option to bolt it later. And I can Glinthawk block it so that it doesn't get ninjas back to my opponent's hand. But I'm not going to bolt here into open Spell Stutter. Just let my arrows untap. Still haven't seen an electricity, that would also be a huge blowout. Because then I can freely play into the spell so that one turn, then they play it, I get rid of all the random nonsense that is lying around. Delver, sure. I mean, they are overloading my arrows a little bit, but it's difficult for them to win if I can keep trading for full cards with just arrow activations. And if I ever draw like a Skyfisher or something, I get to reuse this once again. I'm just flooding out pretty badly though. It's a little bit annoying, especially considering my time situation. That's decent. They have 5 cards in hand though. 5 cards is a lot. So I guess it's difficult for them to... And I guess they can have like Dispels and Hydroblast. I'll wait a little bit longer, because they also can't do much proactive. Like finding like an extra gush or something is the only thing that really punishes me. And if I find my Reaping the Graves, game pretty much ends, because then I can run the Glinthawk into my opponent's counter and then Reaping Skyfisher plus Glinthawk back to my hand. God damn it. I hate that whenever I board out Faithless Lootings, I flood out this badly and wish it was back in my deck, but it just is such a huge liability in the early game to have it stuck in your hand and your opponent has spells that are open. So I think my deck functions better in this matchup if I don't have it in my deck, but it is pretty awkward when you end up running in these spots where discarding 2 lands would just be amazing. So I'm waiting for another Core Skyfisher, an Electricity, or a Reaping the Graves. And all of those make it so that I can cast this Glinthawk into the spell status sprite and not worry about it too much. And even another Lightning Bolt or Galvanic Blast is alright. Okay, there we go. I said I was waiting for this, so I guess I do have to go for it now. I think this should work out in my favor most of the time. Yeah. Response. Gosh. Kinda want to Pyroblast that. Huh. But then they can easily like have 2 counters and win the counter war. Yeah. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think I'll let it resolve. But that one's close. Yeah, they don't have that many counters in their deck. But the general card advantage that they're gaining is pretty annoying. Okay, might be winning. Might be winning the fight. Yes. No. This comes into play. Response, I bolt down your Spire Golem. Okay, no spell stutter. Response, I shoot down your ninja. And bounce the arrows. And then don't annul me, please. Nice. GG. Oh, that was nice. Different art card spells. Some dignity. Yeah. Back to arrows. I guess we kind of had to sweat the counter war, and now if I had just waited one more turn, everything was easy. But yeah, it worked out. Sure. And like Stormbound guys, it's the only thing my opponent can still do, and even then they lose to the Thread Inspectors on the ground. And I can still Alchemist while the Stormbound guys, yeah, so they're super dead. Well, I was super worried on turn 3 with that mutagenic growth. I think I like how I sideboarded, though they seem to not have augurs in their deck, or at least I didn't see any. Also didn't see any Stormbound guys. I think I want these core sanctifiers. So it looks like my opponent boarded out like bounce spells, which makes a lot of sense because all my creatures generate value, and then maybe some number of augurs, or they just don't play any augurs, and then they brought in like Hydroblast, Dispel, some extra Spire Golems if they don't have the full amount in their main deck. So pretty reasonable plan by my opponent, and this blocks Ninja really profitably once it's on the board and deals with Spire Golem, so I think these are worth having. Electrickeries were amazing, even though it took a while for them to finally show up. Reaping the Graves would have been good. So I think against the setup where my opponent has no augurs, I'm willing to cut some more Thraben Inspectors, though that does reduce my creature count for Reaping the Graves. And yeah, still unsure about these Faithless Lootings. I could just have Lootings over Inspectors, but Inspectors does allow me to have value core Skyfishers on curve a lot better. Like we saw this game, I could go turn 1 Inspector, turn 2 Skyfisher, and that was great. Yeah, I think I'll run it like this. Have a little bit of a creature density for Reaping still. Do have to watch my time though, that is a problem. Yeah, looting is better later on for sure. Because later on I'm also more likely to already have something worthy of bouncing. So I don't really need my Thraben Inspector all that badly if I already have Prophetic Prism and Alchemist Vial lying around. Yeah, this hand's very reactive, but it does have my best cards. And I'm not getting run over. They actually had Delver of Secrets still in their deck, which I think is surprising. At least the blue-red matchup never does that. In the mono-blue deck it makes a lot more sense because they're on more of a tempo plan. But I think that's beneficial to me if they still have Delvers. I'm much more afraid of Augur of Bolas than I'm afraid of Delver of Secrets. No 1-drop. Also something that I like to see. Though the cards that I really do fear are like Augur, Stormbound Geist, and Spire Golem. All of which would not be 1-drops. I guess a 1-drop would actually be better for me. Because I do have all these 1-mana answers that I want to get played out before my opponent has Spellstutter protection and all that. It's much more awkward for me if they curve like Augur into Stormbound Geist into Spire Golem. Okay, that's decent for me. Especially if they try to like Hydroblast here. I'm happy about that. Gonna keep this for Spire Golem, I think, and also if I cast Galvanic Blast, my opponent is able to protect with Mutagenic Growth by making it into a 3-3 when I only deal 2 damage. This one's gonna kill the Delver. Yeah, fighting over Delver, I don't think that's the way my opponent really wants to be approaching the matchup. Though I guess they can daze me here. Okay, no daze. Miscreant, sure. Not that afraid of that either. Well, my spot here is kind of interesting because I kind of want to hold on to this Electricity, but I also want to avoid getting ninja'd. Having some amount of red mana open does already do a reasonable job of protecting me against Ninja. Also, this gives me some Stormbound Geist protection, so I think I'll just play this and keep 2 open, even though that is kind of a tempo loss, not developing my Prophetic Prism. The biggest downside is that I'm not building up my Metalcraft count, so if my opponent slams Spiral Golem for 3 mana here and taps out for it, I don't really have any way of punishing them. And if I run out Prophetic Prism already, I can draw into Artifact lands or something really nicely and just Galvanic Blast it down. Yeah, please Ninja me, please. I would love that. Though it's possible I might have to Pyroblast the Ninja instead of Galvanic Blasting it, both because it leaves me with an answer to Spiral Golem and because it plays around Mutagenic Growth. Come on, one time. You're not watching my stream, are you? Just Ninja me. Ninja me. Then I get to like Pyroblast the Ninja, untap arrows. Yes! And I can play around days. Well, not with the arrows, but with the Pyroblast. Get out of here, Ninja. It is a little bit wasteful with the Pyroblast, but letting my opponent hit me with this seems a lot more risky. Land drop missed. Love it. And they didn't have daze the turn before, so only 1 draw at their daze. Yeah, as I said, like I know this is a grinder, and I think, yeah, he's definitely not ghosting. Because, like, even in the previous 2 games, there were some lines of play that just didn't make sense with full information, but made perfect sense with limited information. So, yeah, respect to him. He's just a legitimately good player, but was not watching my stream for sure, and I'm happy that not hiding my hand worked out. I think from here it's pretty smooth sailing. I have an answer to Spiral Golem. Many of my opponent's threats are just locked out of the game entirely. Basically it's just Stormbound guys that I'm still worrying about. Yes. Can run out this Glintalk. My opponent has to spend a full counter spell on it, because Spellstutter doesn't work. I guess I can try Mutagenic Growth plus Spellstutter Sprite to keep it alive through the Serrated Arrows counter, and then it dies on their turn. Would be pretty cute. Counter spell. Yeah. Now say hello to my Serrated Arrows. How undefeated am I? I think I'm actually fully undefeated. Oh no, I lost a game to Poker's Wizard, but undefeated in matches. And the previous 2 matches I won with no game losses as well. Well, I'm kind of overloaded on hate for 1 toughness creatures, so I definitely have to make sure I don't time out here. That would be awkward, because I'm not doing much of a proactive thing either. Time to aggressively F6, I guess. My opponent will run out of counter spells at some point, hopefully. Or I draw my Reaping the Graves, sure. Anyone knows if my opponent is playing the other challenge as well, the legacy challenge or something, because they are playing pretty slowly despite not streaming, and I was playing slowly only because I'm streaming and because I had some tough spots, I guess. But yeah, f6 battle coming up. Yeah, I'm catching up on time when I aggressively f6 and don't take as much time to explain stuff. It helps that my position in this game is kind of unlosable. Yeah, I guess so, but he's also enough of a grinder that he might just be double queuing or something, and now that he sees that timing is important, he might be speeding up for the purpose of not timing out. But not speeding up that much. Would hate to lose this match to time in such a dominating position, but we'll see. Haven't drawn a lot of Pyroblast to make sure my stuff resolves. Still haven't figured out that I should just in game 1 always yield to Prophetic Prism. I keep forgetting that. Okay, thank God. No timeout for me. Yeah, and we were completely crushing in anything but this timer, of course. Was in the Mox. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Mox Open is going on